Well, this is definitely not what I had on the chopping block today, but we're heading over to the Chicago Blackhawks and talking about how the past few days' worth of events have actually confirmed a trade. So, our subject of today's video is Rem Pitlick, playing for the Rockford IceHogs in the AHL, and who has had a pretty good amount of production in his past few weeks. 13 points in 10 games and 6 points in his last 5 games. Rem Pitlick has been pretty good. But as a 27-year-old, 5'11", 196-pound left-handed center-right wing who is signed on to the end of this season making $1.1 million a year, it should be noted that this production that he has had, it's been in the AHL. He's been pretty good down there for the Rockford IceHogs. This stint definitely has not been bad, but his very limited Chicago Blackhawks stint is the reason we're making this video. Because if you take a look at Rem Pitlick and his trade history, he actually was a part of the Pittsburgh Penguins organization earlier this year. He got traded over to Chicago on January 6, 2024, in exchange for a 2026 conditional 7th round pick. But, as Ben Pope so eloquently goes out there and points out, take a look at this tweet from yesterday. I interrupt the Eclipse content to bring you some earth-shaking Blackhawks news. The 2026 7th-round pick that the Chicago Blackhawks traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Rem Pitlick had a condition of Pitlick playing 30 NHL games, per source. He only played 9, so the Hawks will keep the pick, after all. This is a very minor thing, but hey, the conditions of the pick were that Pittsburgh will only receive it if Rem Pitlick plays 30 NHL games in 2023-2024. The result here is that Pitlick did not play 30, so Chicago retains the 2026 7th-round pick, which essentially means that they got Pitlick for free. The Pittsburgh Penguins received nothing in exchange for Rem Pitlick, and at this point, it's kind of easy to see why. Rem Pitlick, playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins organization, did not really get himself any opportunities to play. Being a part of the Laval Rocket and the Montreal Canadiens last season, honestly, he was pretty fine with the Canadiens 2 years ago, but never really was too important, never really was too amazing, and so he eventually got sent over to Pittsburgh in the Erik Carlsson trade, because you gotta remember that was a 3-team trade. A lot of Canadiens fans were making note of the fact that they were shelling out Pitlick, who was making $1.1 million, which was a really good thing for them because cap flexibility is always valued at the NHL level, and with Pitlick being an NHL, AHL tweener on a one-way deal where he'd be making $1.1 million against the cap no matter where he is, it was easy to see why this was seen as a proper move. But in the Pittsburgh system, Pitlick never really got a chance to excel at the NHL level, and so that's why you saw the trade go down. He got moved over to a team in Chicago where it was like, if he plays a certain amount of NHL games with the Chicago Blackhawks, then the Penguins will get themselves whatever pick it was in return, which isn't even really too big of a pick. I mean, 2026 7th-round pick, that's not a significant pick at all. So for Rem Pitlick, I mean, he got sent down, he played, and he's fine, which is okay, but now it's like, the guy got traded for nothing pretty much. And I like some of the responses here. It's kind of funny just seeing what Blackhawks fans are saying about this. Oh, the Hawks got a player for free, and I still think they lost the trade. Yeah, it's not really too ideal. Hog Thoughts then asks, okay, why? Why'd they lose the trade? Rockford excluded, the Chicago Blackhawks took on some cap. He played very poorly, I understand, new team and whatnot in Chicago, and then got sent down. But devil's advocate, with the cap room they have, I think that cap hits are the last of their worries. But he also allowed the Hawks to keep guys like Gutman and Rockford to get top-line minutes and development instead of going to Chicago to play bottom 6 minutes or sit in the press box to cover injuries. He also has been pretty good in Rockford. They probably don't make the playoffs without him. He's been vital to Rockford's recent run, so at the end of the day, this is a pretty interesting trade. Pretty interesting move as well, since Blackhawks fans are kind of debating what the wins and the losses are for this. At the end of the day, you got yourselves a player for free, which is useful. The cap hit is there, but Chicago is not really in a place to value cap all too much this season anyway, so getting this guy for free to help out the Rockford IceHogs and keep some of the other guys from being in the press box, it is pretty valuable, I'd say. you got to take a look at this. I mean, the Rockford team has been pretty good. Rem Pitlick quickly made his presence known on this team. I think he's like the only point-per-game guy on the squad in general. Yeah, he is. It's Rem Pitlick and Joey Anderson, both of whom had very limited stints with the team, as the only point-per-game players here. Everybody else, Cole Gutman, Brett Seney, Dave Gust, none of these guys had point-per-game metrics, so you could understand why there was value in getting a guy like Rem Pitlick in the system anyway. But at the end of the day, I mean, it cost them nothing. So Chicago, Pittsburgh, this trade went down a few months ago. We have ourselves the confirmation. It's not like Rem Pitlick is going to come back up and play 30 NHL games, considering the fact that the Chicago Blackhawks only have, like, what, they've got 5 games left, pretty much, and that's just assuming that Jason Dickinson did not miss a game. So, yeah, there's no opportunity for Rem Pitlick to get up to 30 NHL games this season. Therefore, the trade that saw him get sent over to Chicago in the first place was essentially for nothing. So, yeah, 3-team trade, the Montreal to Pittsburgh Erik Karlsson swap sees Rem Pitlick get over to Pittsburgh. He plays a little bit, but then he gets traded again. Now he's in Chicago, and he has not fulfilled the eligible requirements for the Penguins to actually receive something in exchange for Pitlick. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this confirmed trade, about how everything went down for the Chicago Blackhawks as well as the Rockford IceHogs, and if you're a fan of this team, what are your opinions on whether or not the trade was a win or a loss? There is some very interesting discourse surrounding this, because there is some good and some bad, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What alignment do you kind of agree with here? Do you think the Chicago Blackhawks ended up losing a trade where they gave up nothing, or do you think this was more valuable than not for the AHL's Rockford IceHogs and their playoff run? Rem Pitlick is a fine player, just maybe not good enough to crack a certain NHL roster now and then. But at this point, if he has a solidified role in the hockey world, he is an important, valuable part to this Rockford team. I think there's an identity part that makes this worthwhile to think about. But then, for the Pittsburgh Penguins, trading away Rem Pitlick freed up $1.1 million in space. I'm sure they're kind of okay with that, considering that he wasn't really doing too much with their system anyway. The 7th-round pick, who really cares? It would have been in 2026 anyway. They used some of this extra cap space to make some more moves, and eventually grab Michael Bunting from the Carolina Hurricanes. I know that was a trade that involved Jake Gensel, and his contract was equal, but still, you know, the Penguins were doing some wheeling and dealing, and they were able to get themselves a few extra guys because of these moves. So, yeah, Pittsburgh, I'm feeling that they don't really care too much about losing out on Rem Pitlick for free. The Blackhawks, though, getting him for free, that's totally fine. And when you think about his recent stint, I mean, the fact that his contract is expiring at the end of this season, and the fact that he's been very, very useful for Rockford, there's an opportunity here for Pitlick to get himself, let's say, a 2-way deal next offseason, or not next offseason, this upcoming offseason, to bolster up the chemistry that he had with these guys in Rockford and try to expand on his really great stint over here. He's a pretty good player. He's just probably not worth 1.1 mil. So ultimately, if the Blackhawks find themselves a long-term fit with Pitlick, they like him enough to keep him around and re-sign him, then okay, like, this is a pretty big win for everybody involved here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about Rem Pitlick and his overall profile in regards to being a trade chip. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.